Well, I think in Canada, the focus is really more on bringing people to Canada and then also, really help them establish here in the country on site so that they can contribute to the workforce but can also really participate in that feeling of living in Canada and what it means to be Canadian and live in this space. I think, but there you also have to differentiate between the people who then come to Canada, right, or come to Calgary. For Germans, there's always the dream about Canada. For Swiss people as well, for them, it's pretty similar to their hometown, right? Which I think might be different for people who, of course, are immigrating due to different reasons or needs.
It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders, insightful and inspiring conversations with founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who help shape our city. Heralding from the Calgary Petroleum Club, connecting Calgary's business leaders since 1948. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Ga'aina, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Eahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
Today's guest is Alexandra Weipert. Alexandra was born and raised in Munich, Germany, and now lives and works in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. As a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, Alexandra is the owner and president of Pro Canada Consulting, Inc. This company has specialized in advising individuals and businesses in Canadian immigration and citizenship questions since 2000. Due to the fact that the previous owners were from Swiss and German heritage, the focus of the clients laid on the German-speaking countries. Since Alexandra has lived in Spain and France, and having immigrated herself, she knows how comforting it can be for a local advisor who can explain the foreign process in a native language. Alexandra speaks French and Spanish, thus broadening the geographical client focus to clients in French and Spanish-speaking countries. Alexandra completed her bachelor's degree in political science and sociology at Ludwig Maximilians Universität Munich and Sciences Po Paris. Alexandra's further career led her to Ashton College, Vancouver, where she was licensed as a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Alexandra gained additional expertise while working for the Family Business Foundation for several years in Germany. This was complemented by the internships at the French Embassy Berlin and the Bavarian Parliament. Alexandra is also a member of the German Canadian Society, German Council on Foreign Relations, and College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants. Well, Alexandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here.
And you've come a long ways to be here. You're not just you're not originally from Calgary. You actually chose Calgary. So this is going to be a great conversation of how to come to Calgary. Mm-hmm. We know that the Economist report recently said Calgary was the #1 city in Canada to live, tied at #3 globally. So we're starting to see that fluctuation of people not only within Calgary or within Canada moving to Calgary, but also people around the world starting to go, where is this Calgary? First, share with us a little bit of how you came to Calgary and what was your journey like and why Calgary?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm born and raised in Munich, which is actually how I find quite similar to Calgary in some regards with regards to lifestyle and all the activities you can do around Calgary. So I was born and raised in Munich. I then moved to Calgary together with my partner. And for that, that was really the journey to explore where do we want to move to in Canada. We also considered Vancouver, we considered Victoria. But for us, it was really clear that we wanted to go to Calgary just because of the lifestyle we can live here, because of its affordability, which especially coming from Munich is a very big aspect, right? And we have really loved it here so far, and it's been great. I mean, we moved here in 2020, so among the pandemic, but it has been great, and I feel like especially since April this year, or last year, 2022, it has really picked up, and it was great to network again here, and everybody's so open and friendly, and I really like the atmosphere. For me, it's new to live in a city where you have really one big industry, right, which is oil and gas, but then you go to all the networking events and you really see there's also so much more. There are so many startups coming from that, and I think, that's just a great place to live. Really happy to be here.
And I think of Munich, and it's like, oh, I so want to go to Munich. So I've heard it's beautiful.
It definitely is.
So in moving to Calgary and intentionally becoming a Calgarian, and that's when a lot of us are born here or kind of migrate over. What were you talked about some of the advantages of housing costs and lifestyle, the outdoor lifestyle, all of these type of things around what is available in Calgary. What are some of the other aspects when it came to, because you are an entrepreneur also, what are some of the aspects that you found that were beneficial at building a business that Calgary offers?
So one aspect was definitely low rents, right, for office buildings, which was nice because I feel like having an office is something I prefer. Also for meeting clients. Clients from Germany sometimes come here and explore Alberta, right? They want to see what the city has to offer, and then it's great to meet with them in person in your own office. That has been very beneficial. So we are at 704th Avenue Southwest, which is nice location. I think that is one big aspect, but of course also it is one very essential point for us was that we didn't want to move to Quebec, because there you have really the regulations are really strict, right? And it's difficult to expand from Quebec to other provinces that might be more challenging. So I feel like Calgary in Western Canada has really its benefits in that regard, that it's easy to expand also from that city because you have all the connections, right? Really internationally, which is great. And of course, also like the tax advantages Alberta has. This is also something we always advise clients on when they ask where should we go? What are like the differences between the provinces, right? This is, I feel like, also really big benefit Alberta has.
And tax advantages also extend into home purchases. We're one of the very few places in North America where there is no land transfer tax, meaning that buyers that go and purchase a property here do not have the added fee on the actual land transfer. I remember purchasing a property back in 95, way back in Toronto, when somebody could actually purchase a property. And I bought that house for $275,000. But that land transfer tax going in and seeing that, and it's an additional $7,000 we had to come up on our closing. And Alberta really does create an opportunity for people to get in very inexpensively. Not only the price of the house, but also the fact that there's not all the overarching fees that we see in other provinces.
Yeah, and I also feel like all the government agencies that are out there to help immigrants, get familiar with the Calgary job market, get familiar with the different industries, what do the industries require from prior experience, what would be a good fit. There are so many offers or possibilities out there that really help to settle here in Calgary.
So we have right now, we are seeing within Canada a migration from Toronto to Calgary. Where and we see migration where we have sponsored migration coming from volatile areas or areas that are underserved globally. Where are we seeing migration with people who are looking at corporate and business opportunities? What are some of the places that we're seeing, and how do they approach that?
Well, I think kind of similar, right? Because it really matters where you're going to set up your business once you expand to a new country. And I think the biggest aspects are really tax advantages, also what possibilities, what government support do they get in the province. And so, of course, also from Germany, from Austria, from Switzerland, those companies really sometimes see USA and Canada on the same level, but then it's our job to explain to them what the difference really is, right? And for example, the Canadian law system is way more comparable to what they know from Europe.
Yeah.
So those are aspects where we really focus on. I'm now also, as I speak Spanish and French, expanding to those markets as well. And so we're also in the process of enforcing, or not enforcing, but supporting Mexican companies to come to Alberta, right? And so this is also why it's really interesting for them, because here they still have opportunities and possibilities that they might not have in BC or Ontario, because you also have the provincial nominee programs that really foster those companies or those entrepreneurs to found companies in Calgary, but also in the more rural areas.
What type of businesses are looking for relocation in that Alberta's working on attracting? What type of businesses are you seeing come?
Well, it's definitely IT, but I mean, that makes sense as well, right? This is what Calgary wants, which I think is great. And all the startups, the innovation that you see here is just fascinating to witness. But I also think it's like smaller entrepreneurs who have, like, especially from Germany. Germany has a really strong kind of economy when it comes to small and medium-sized companies. This is where they are strong. They are oftentimes family-owned for generations. And so for them, it's getting harder and harder to remain in Germany, like with taxation, with all the inflation problems, with the gas crisis, right?
Yeah.
So they are also interested in coming. Those are then sometimes, already, like I said, small, medium-sized companies, but also trades like bakeries, right? They are also interested in coming to Canada, and there's interest for those companies as well, especially in the more rural areas.
And one of the things that I think that is really great in Canada is the diversity within our food, our culture. It's more of a tapestry versus that melting pot. We actually really celebrate all the different cultures. So we want people to bring their cultures and weave it in together. So that's where you get great fusion food and music and clothing and entertainment. There's really great opportunity. Being a new business here and coming during the pandemic, which that was a brave soul right there. One of the things, I met you here at the Calgary Petroleum Club. What were when you sat down and you said, I'm doing this business, I'm coming to Calgary, so you were very premeditated as to every step. And I find that because a lot of entrepreneurials are kind of fly by the seat of your pants. You don't strike me as that type of entrepreneur. So you joined the club. Like, what were your steps to start integrating yourself within the city?
Well, for me, one step was really the Petroleum Club. Like, it's a concept very uncommon to Germans. Like, we don't have that type of business club atmosphere, right? But for me, that was a perfect opportunity, because that way I could start a network. And I've become I'm a member now for a little bit over a year, so not too long. But I really enjoyed participating in the happy hour events, just to get like a really broad, get to know many people from different industries, different backgrounds, which I think is really great, but also participating in the other events the Petroleum Club has to offer. And for me, that was just that, or is still is really a great opportunity and possibility to network. Also, I've kind of looked, okay, what are the organizations that Calgary has? So one, of course, is is the chamber, which was then also interesting to join events and get to know people there. What another organization that I find really interesting to integrate and learn more about Calgary, because there's so much to learn, and also then to use for presentations, right? When I'm in Germany, I speak at conferences and I kind of promote Canada and introduce them to the immigration programs. And so what I find fascinating that there is, for example, Calgary Economic Development, right? An agency, I would call it, just focusing on promoting Calgary and giving you all the statistics and all the numbers that I can then use for to speak about Canada and especially about Calgary. So I think those are really great organizations or points that you can talk to, approach when you are interested about Calgary as an economic place to start your business as well, because it gives you all the numbers.
And the economic development of Calgary is actually a very robust platform to go and get all that information. If somebody was looking at coming to Calgary, you talk Chamber of Commerce, economic development, and the Petroleum Club. What is like for starting to market their business? Now, I know that your immigration, so your market is outside of Calgary, right? But what do you think is a benefit for somebody who's looking to build their business here in Calgary to start marketing? What are some of the steps or initiatives that people can take to start growing their business locally here?
Well, I think one aspect is I'm always a fan of getting each other to know personally, right? So if there are possibilities, if you're in an industry where it makes sense to do workshops or speak at conferences here in Calgary, make events in your own office, right? Some maybe presentations about the topic, and invite just a really valuable or specific group of people that then can act as multipliers, I think is really, really beneficial. Of course, like media and marketing presence and Instagram and all of that also helps a lot. But I feel like, especially in my business, it's hard to already attract the final customer, right? So I work via multipliers who then bring the customers most often. And so I think those are really possibilities where you can have a bigger crowd of people that are selected, right? That have then the room to share your services. And so I feel like those are really good measurements to have, because in some part I feel like Calgary is a small town. Like if you live here for a long time, it seems that you really know each other, right? Yes. And so it all comes with personal recommendations and connections, and that's why I think having events, speaking at conferences, having kind of those dinner tables, maybe also at the club, is really beneficial to broaden that network and then advertise through that.
With the projection of Calgary's growth to double in like the next 25 years, double again. And Calgary has doubled since I moved here in 99. I mean, I drive around. I saw the platform, which is such a cool new space. I got invited to something. I'm going like, where is this platform? I show up and it's like, when did this go up? It's crazy how fast things can happen here. With the estimation of population doubling in the next 25 years, where do you think some of those people are coming from? Because I don't know anybody that's having 10 kids. So where are these people coming from in general coming to Calgary?
Well, of course, immigration is the big thing of Canada, right? And the numbers that they are aiming at are really high. And of course, naturally, those people will come from maybe Asia, Africa, from those countries, because for them there the need to move to another country, also South America, is bigger than it is from Germany, Switzerland, Austria. That's for sure. I think what is also necessary then is to kind of see how Calgary has to adapt to accommodate those people, right? To maintain its status as number one of Canada's most livable cities, which I agree it definitely is, right? And I think there we still have to see a lot of change, so it kind of remains true to its values and to the amenities it has to offer.
So immigration or migration, it's really fascinating. The world is on the move. I know that Spain just put in the first working nomad visa. So they are now recognizing people who are in like a nomadic space within their work, digital. What is that? Keyboard warriors or laptop warriors, right? So that being said, knowing that you're on the legal side of things with immigration and helping professionals to relocate. What are some of the ideas or thoughts around that if we looked at that here in Canada?
Well, I think in Canada, the focus is really more on bringing people to Canada and then also, really help them establish here in the country on site so that they can contribute to the workforce but can also really participate in that feeling of living in Canada and what it means to be Canadian and live in this space. I think, but there you also have to differentiate between the people who then come to Canada, right, or come to Calgary. For Germans, there's always the dream about Canada. For Swiss people as well, for them, it's pretty similar to their hometown, right? Which I think might be different for people who, of course, are immigrating due to different reasons or needs. So I think that is something that will also then really change to see kind of where the people come from and what their needs are, why they are moving to Canada, and that will also will be the responsibility also from the government and from politicians, from policymakers to maintain that, as you said, right? Canada is not a melting pot. I would say it's more like a mosaic to really maintain that feeling of Canada and the variety and diversity it has.
Well, we had a guest speaker, the new CEO of WestJet, and it was fascinating because you were able to walk up, you and your husband, and talk to him in his own language. And that is not something I recall when I was a child growing up or a young adult in Wichita, Kansas, of seeing that what's that word, guys? Lingualism. There we go. Thank you, folks. My Kansas. Just right there. But that's what I find really cool about Canada and Calgary. You can walk through a grocery store and you can hear 6, 10, 12 different languages being spoken at any given time. It is the coolest thing. Also makes for great cooking because we have a really good selection of groceries. When we look at building business and we look at living in Calgary, we also have to look at the place side of things. Name your top 3 favorite things to do in and around Calgary.
Well, for me, I think it's great to take a walk also through downtown. For me, as a European that already has that feeling of little New York City because of the high risers. But then for me, it's definitely nature. Like go around, drive out to Canmore, go for a hike. Also, like all the water activities you can do there, right, in the Rockies. I think those are just spectacular things to do. And another highlight I had when I guess it was my first winter I stayed here and I came for a visit. It used to be the case that at Springbank Airport you can take like a little kind of try-out session with a pilot. And if you go up into the air and then you see, that is still fascinating for me. Like you have the Rockies, right? Then it's flat. Then comes Calgary and all around it, it's flat again. That really gives you that feeling of how big Canada is and the dimensions. And I think those are, really, really great possibilities to explore here in Calgary when you're here.
So, favorite restaurant? Have you latched on to a favorite place that you order more than once a month to?
Not too much yet, but I guess it was called the Dean House. I really
love
that.
the Dean House.
That was really nice.
I love the Dean House. If you love the Dean House, you got to go to Lougheed House too.
Okay.
Lougheed House has a beautiful little restaurant in there. You got to love. So for those who are listening or watching, Dean House and Lougheed House are both historical buildings here in Calgary with really cool stories behind them. So you get that flavor of being a little bit more piece of Calgary. Now, did you get a chance to go to Stampede last year?
Well, not last year, but in 2021 I've been there, which was really great. And then it's an experience, and that's something where for me, Calgary is quite kind of similar to my hometown, right? Because in Munich we have the Oktoberfest.
Yes.
And so there we wear our dirndls and lederhosen and everything. So for me, that is also something I then compare. I kind of switch my dirndl to my cowboy hat now, which is
leather
fun.
breeches to a straw hat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly. So no, I've been there and I've enjoyed it.
Very cool. What's something that you would say to somebody who's considering relocating? They're looking at, like, this is a business person. They're looking at setting up, and a lot of times when we relocate, we leave our family, we leave our friends, we leave everything that is known and comfortable to us, and to leave all that to go to an unknown can be quite scary or uncomfortable, and it may be why some people don't execute, or what can be done inside of 12 months they take 3 years to do. What's something that you would say to that person looking at coming here and starting their business?
Well, I think first step, as also often required by the provincial nominee programs, is an exploratory visit. Like, spend some time here and plan ahead who you want to meet, who might be good people to talk to that can help you, that can explain to you the benefits that Calgary has to start your business. Speak to the people, spend some time here. Also look at then, once you have kind of established the business side of things, that you think, okay, Calgary is a great place for me. Also explore the neighborhoods, explore what lifestyle options you have here, and really see if that is a great fit for you, and then remain in contact with those people you have spoken to. And of course, then most often you return back to your home country, right? You kind of evaluate your business plan. Does it make sense? Will I be successful here? Will the immigration program I apply to accept me and my business proposal here? And I think those are the steps you should take before really saying, okay, this is my decision. I want to start my business here in Calgary. Really speak to the people, get a feeling for the city. Also, the business ethics and how to do business. That is also like something we have to learn. I had to learn it. I'm still in the process of learning it, right? Because it takes time. You come with your own kind of way of doing business, your understanding of how what is ethically right, how to answer that statement or anything like that. So I feel like that you first have to do that exploration trip. Once you decide, okay, Calgary is a great place to start my business, to live here with my family, then also not underestimating the process and the time it takes to really feel included in the Calgarian society. So I think once you have started your business here, once you moved here, really also try to maintain that ability, or remain interested in talking to people, in networking, in seeking help if you need it, because it takes some time to really feel established in a city, and people, I feel like, are what give you that feeling, right? Because we are all human beings that need each other's company or feedback. So I think if you also have a mentor that can advise you in the different business areas, that is super helpful.
Where would they find a mentor? How would you find somebody like that?
Well, maybe at the Petroleum Club. Like,
That's a good call. Is that how has the Petroleum Club been a part of you feeling accepted or moving forward in Calgary?
Well, for me, it was mainly with the events I participated in, the people I then got to know, right? And then we had like business dinners together, also sometimes multiple people, just chatting and really getting to know each other. And then they refer you to, I feel like for me, it's kind of the famous coffee date, right? That's something I feel like very Canadian to do. And then they open kind of your network, their network to you. And so this is really where it's me in the Petroleum Club. I go to a dinner event or an event from the Petroleum Club. I meet new people there, then they open their network. And so it's really that aspect of also, I feel like net giving, right? Because you only have your network is only as strong as much effort you put into it. Mm-hmm. And so this is really a process to build it and to also then benefit from it.
Absolutely. I 110% agree. There's an American saying that your net worth is in your network. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't think people go to Ivy League schools with the sole intention of spending $500,000 on an education. They go there for the network, mm-hmm. right? So that's the key is the network there. Yeah. I would love to do this conversation again after you have been here like 10 years, and see what the takes are, because I think you're on a big learning, mm-hmm. just absorbing all the information, like what movies have been done here and what activities, and I mean everything's new and mm-hmm. fresh and exciting. When we look at this, you are a specialist in immigration. Mm-hmm. When we look at countries like Germany and such, are we seeing an influx because of the unrest in Ukraine and areas like that? And how could a Calgarian host that orientation or be part of supporting, people who are moving due to unrest in their area?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's definitely a reason, but it's also interesting. So with Google ads, right, you can analyze with which keyword people looked up a lot. And so last year in March or February, March, April, when the crisis kind of began in the Ukraine, you could really see that influx of people searching for immigrating to Canada. But then it stagnated and it fell again. And so that is, I find interesting, because it shows, right, we as people, we kind of also get used to situations or crises and wars that are so close to our home. And for me, right, my whole family lives back in Germany. And so it's very close to them. But I feel like it has that crisis aspect from the currently East European geopolitical situation, definitely. But it's also the the tax and political system aspects that make people want to leave Germany. But then, of course, it's always the question, do they go maybe to Switzerland, which is way more similar for them, right, with their values and everything? Or if they are willing to move to a country like Canada. And that, I feel like most people won't move to Calgary, to Alberta, just because they like it here, right? It has to have also benefits for them. It has to be they need aspects that make them move, for example, economical reasons, possibilities, opportunities for their business to grow here. And I think that is one aspect. Like also the Albertan government, there's currently no entrepreneur program on a provincial level or business program. Like there's one for rural Alberta. But then the question is, right, who is willing to move into like more rural places in Alberta if you don't have like all the amenities and lifestyle Calgary has and the international hotspot Calgary is? So I think there's something on the political government side of things to do to really attract more entrepreneurs to come to Calgary. There's the startup visa program, of course, but it might also be that there are people who want to establish a company here in Calgary and want to start the entrepreneurial journey here. So this is something I feel like on the government side of things that should be done.
Oh, and we know some people in government. So, you know what? We are so blessed to have you and your husband as new Calgarians.
Thank you.
Because I think there's a lot that you guys are going to accomplish here and create new legacy within Calgary. So, if anybody has any questions, we will have all of Alexandra's information in the show notes. But I really do appreciate your time. You're awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The world is changing, and it's happening faster than ever. Businesses and people are adapting, but nobody can do it alone. Maybe it's easier for Burnett, Duckworth, and Palmer to keep up because they have always been nimble and brought creative thinking to the way they practice the law. BD&P best understands your industry and your business because Calgary is their home too. They're not just legal advisors, they are true partners. They've been called unconventional, and they think that makes the firm better partners to their clients for now and for the future. Meet your legal match at bdplaw.com. Your partners for a brilliant future.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, calpeteclub.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.